more sunlight than I thought I had. Should turn around and go the other way, but I don't have time for that. I was in a pretty good spot, but I'm not. No problem, I won't be on long anyway. First sign of life. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. All right, one shot of water. All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. This morning, as I've been doing for a while now, I do my little takes early in the morning, sometime between 6:30 and 7. And I tried to do that this morning. I got the take out, but somehow I think that I put the wrong settings in there. And I think it went to a kids channel instead of the normal procedure. It had bad signal set up, and I think trying to get it set up, I might have hit the wrong button to shift it over to the kids. I wasn't talking about nothing out of the way, so I'm not really concerned about that. But I wanted to come back on to make the same points I was making before to make sure that it gets out there. All right, e-commerce. Okay. But before we get to the draft, I mean, people have been talking about the draft, so you pretty much know what happened. Cleveland Browns ended up with two rookie quarterbacks they drafted. They got Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, I believe, and they took Shedeur in the 5th round. And the question is, did they cause a problem for themselves? Well, they already had Joe Flacco, and of course they got Deshaun Watson, and then you had these two guys to go along with Kenny Pickett that you got from the Eagles. So if all these guys are healthy, you don't have enough room on the roster for all 5 quarterbacks. So the question is, what are the Browns thinking? Well, when I analyze it and I look at it, I think it's actually a pretty good move that the Browns made. One, they said that they felt like Gabriel is a better quarterback than Sanders, so they passed on him there. And then in the 5th round, it wasn't the GM and the coaching staff that wanted Sanders, it was the owner. So the owner made the move to get Sanders. So as you see on the thumbnail there, in that press conference or the reaction from the staff as the pick was being made, you can tell that they weren't very happy about it. And for good reason, because it puts them in a bad situation. Now, Stefanski, he hadn't had the greatest success since he's been in Cleveland, so he really can't stand a whole lot of bad news, because just like Daboll up in New York, he can find himself out of a job this year also. But I look at it, and even though Sanders didn't go as high as he thought he was going to go, he still went in the draft, which means he has somewhat of an opportunity to make the team. I say somewhat because normally 5th, 6th, 7th round draft choices, you're just a camp body, and you're not going to get a whole lot of reps. So when you do get a rep or two, you got to make that count. What works in Sanders' favor is the owner is the reason why he was drafted. And because the owner was the reason, it stands to reason that he's going to get an opportunity to try to make this team. Now, of course, the GM and the coach, they don't want the owners to be sticking their head in their business and, you're going to be an owner, let us run the team. You hired me to run this particular operation, let me do it. So I completely understand exactly where the coaches are coming from. But at the same time, it's his team. He can do what he wants to do. Maybe he thinks Sanders can play. And that's where it gets interesting. Because even though Sanders wasn't that top choice, he gets the opportunity to compete for a position. And the owner is going to guarantee that he gets that opportunity. But the beauty of it all, we get to see head to head which one of these two guys should have been the right pick. And that's where the newness of the situation. I want to know, do you think that the Browns have come up with a new way to do things in the future. And let me give you something you hadn't thought about. Even though the owner forced his pick and the coaches don't want him, the owner's going to make him get those reps, which means that Sanders has an opportunity to outshine Garcia. If he does that, no, not Garcia, but Gabriel. If he does that, then that makes the coaching staff look bad. So by the owner forcing this pick, not only do we see who's the better quarterback between Sanders and Gabriel, but we also get to see if the coaching and the GM are making good decisions for the Browns. So this is all fun and games for the owner. I get to see if I really have something in my coach and GM that I can trust them to go out and make the right pick. Because if I have to make the right pick and my pick goes out and outshine the coach's pick, then I need to go find me another coach and GM. And I think subconsciously, Barry and Stefanski realize that, hey, this is a potential problem for us. And don't let them get off to a bad start. And Shedeur has to get out there and he starts playing well. And it's very possible that it could happen because they can start off with a bad start because they're in that rugged division. You can't expect Cincinnati to keep having the bad breaks go against them. You can't expect Pittsburgh to not fix that running hole that they showed up late in the season. And Baltimore, they're going to be pretty good. And until you stop them, they're going to be right there. So Cleveland's got a problem. And that means Stefanski and Barry have a problem. And if Sanders, the pick that they didn't want, that was supplied by the owner, if he shows them up, then they're not going to be there very long. That's just something that came to me, and it makes solid sense that for teams moving forward, if I think I got the right guy, put him to the test to see if they're doing the right jobs, making the right decisions. So it's going to be rare as something like this happens, but it's a perfect situation if you're somebody looking at it from the outside. I get to see who's the better quarterback, and then I get to get a lens into how the Browns are operating as far as putting their talent together. You know, they hadn't done a great job in that for a long time now, and it wouldn't look very good if Sanders makes them look bad. All right, JC, how you doing, man? I came on this morning, I didn't see you. New Harper, that's a new guy. Mark Allen, his daddy heard his draft status. Yeah, he might have, but like I say, he has a chance to go out and prove all of that wrong. And normally a fifth-round draft choice, especially a quarterback, he probably won't get very many reps. But Sanders, because of the situation and being put there by the owner, he's going to be guaranteed to compete. And he has the opportunity to show everybody just what they think about him, the ones that thought he could play. But there are a lot of people coming out now saying that the only reason he looked good at all was because of Travis Hunter. And he really didn't have a receiver besides Hunter to make him look good. And Hunter made him look good a lot of times. And that is the reason why we're in this position. I don't necessarily agree with that. I saw a lot of the games that they played, and the guy, if he's got time to throw, just like any quarterback, is going to kill you. His problem to me was taking too many sacks. And the thing that troubled me about what I was hearing concerning Sanders was they said, or it was leaked, that he was taking so many sacks and not throwing the ball away so he could protect his passing average. Big problem if that's true, because once that became known in the pro locker room, they wouldn't go over too well. So I'm hoping that is not the case, and I like to think that is not the case, but that's what they're saying about him, that he's really not that good, and the receivers bailed him out. Well, I've seen a lot of receivers bail quarterbacks out that they never got the same accusations thrown at them. So only time will tell about that. But I think it was a great move by the Browns owner by bringing in Sanders, making the Gabriel compete with Sanders for maybe the third position. And we also get a chance to see if the Browns front office are making the right decisions. And that's going to be pretty evident as the training camps go on. I'm doing all right, JC. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. You know that Deshaun Watson is on pretty much on IR for the whole year. So not to worry about him this year. Flacco's going to start. Then you're going to have a competition between Pickett, Gabriel, and Sanders for the second and third spots. One of those guys are going to be released. They can't keep 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. One of them is going to be destined for the practice squad. Now, here's the problem with the practice squad. When you you have to release a player to get him eligible for the practice squad, which means every other team in the league has an opportunity to sign that player you just cut. And they can sign him however they want to sign him. They can sign him to their practice squad, or they can sign him to the active roster, because everybody sees what everybody else is doing. And I think the odd man out, probably won't even be in Cleveland, but is going to end up on somebody else's roster after all the cuts have been made. But that's just my thought. Now, speaking of Cleveland, the city itself, you know that the Cavaliers have the number 1 seed. Well, they were in Miami last night, and they had a 3-0 lead. And I'm thinking that the Heat, they're going to show up and try to play some basketball. I mean, they hadn't played the best, but they want to show everybody they're better than what they are. At least that's what a competitor would do. So I thought. And along with that, some guys want to show that, they can compete on a high level. Well, that's not what happened last night. The Heat only scored 17 points in the first quarter last night, and they were down something like 43-17. How do you get down so far in the first quarter in an elimination game? I mean, are the Cavaliers that much better? Yeah, they're the better team, but better from a championship team to a playoff team, somewhere around 20, 21 points. But overall, you got beat by 55 points. And I think that's a disgrace to the league. You got this play-in game, a play-in tournament. They win the play-in tournament. They go in as an 8th seed. They go in on a roll. You think they're going to do okay, but then they completely lay an egg. As bad as they play, what is the point of having your 10 seed come and look like a 38 seed and getting past the 9th and 8th seed that were there before? You could have let the Hawks go to the playoffs, or the Bulls, and I don't think the Bulls would have laid down, or the Hawks would have done the same thing that Miami did last night. Furthermore, all those fans in the stands, they didn't get a discounted ticket price. It probably costs more to go to a playoff game. And for them to play like that, what are the fans to think? Now, I know in the NFL, when you go to the playoffs, they get tiered money per round. And I got to think that the same thing is happening with the NBA. When you make it to the playoffs, you make a little bit of extra money. I think whatever money the Heat got for playing in this series, they should divide it up and give it to the fans who showed up last night, because that was an horrendous effort. They didn't even try to play, and I think some of those guys are subject to be thrown out of the league because that was zero effort, and you're showing to me that not only didn't that team deserve to be in the playoffs, but a lot of players don't deserve to be in the league. And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the week when I saw that video on Bill Russell. He was talking about Jordan, came up to him talking about he's going to get his record. And the record he was talking about was his championship number. And Russell told him it didn't matter how many championships he won, he didn't have enough time to catch what he had, because the teams he played against were better than the teams that Jordan played with and against. By that he meant he only had like 12 teams in the league, where you had, 28, 30 when Jordan played? And a lot of guys that are on the teams, those expanded team numbers, wouldn't be in the league when you only have 12. And I agree with that. A lot of guys on these rosters, they're making NBA checks, but they're given college productivity. Because there's no way in the world a true playoff team is going to get beat by 55 points at home in an elimination game. If the team's better, hey, fine, beat us. But you got to beat me, man. To give you an idea about my philosophy, if I grounded the ball out to second base, I'm trying to outbeat that throw. Because, hey, you might bobble it or anything. You got to throw me out. I do not accept taking the easy out. There's been plenty of times I grounded the shortstop and beat the throw to first base because he just thought he had a sure out. And then give you another example of baseball about myself. I was playing center field one time, and I knew this guy didn't have very much speed. And I told myself, anticipating what might happen, I told myself, if this guy hit to me a base hit, I know something. Sure enough, he hit a slow grounder over second base. Hey, you know, just like most baseball players, what do? They trot to the base. Hey, I got a hit. I'm great. Well, he happened to look up, and he saw me charging the ball, and his eyes got big as 3/4. I raised up from center field and fired a line straight to first base. He beat me by half a step. But I let him know, if you're going to play against me, you got to beat me. And if I'm in the professional ranks, and I know everybody's watching, and I'm drawing a professional paycheck, I'm going to earn my professional money. And I didn't see that from the Heat last night, and it was ridiculous. And I think the NBA needs to do something about that because the fans are paying good money to come down there and watch something like that, and that's the effort that they get. And I think it's a residual from the guaranteed contracts that the NBA players get, which leads them to do things like load management, where they skip a lot of time because really they can get away with it. Well, once you give the guy the initial payment and he's got $15-20 million, what you going to say if he tweak his ankle? It's the same kind of thing with Joel Embiid. Yeah, he's hurt, but at the same time, he's also skating a little bit too because he can do that. NFL players can't do that. The only thing guaranteed in NFL is your signing bonus. After that, you're fair game. And I think that something needs to be done about the old weak NBA and the mindset that they have. But speaking of the Heat there, Frankenstein, I heard Stephen A. Smith say that Pat Riley, he needs to go. They need to put Spoelstra in that position and let put Riley out to sea just like they do the Eskimos. It's time for him to go because he's old-fashioned and he's trying to do business the old-fashioned way. And these new players are completely different from what he's used to dealing with. I agree that probably there should be a change. There's no doubt that Riley knows the game and he's got a wealth of experience. I think he could be a great consultant. But as far as making the major decisions, I agree with Stephen A. on that. It's time for Riley to go. But still, when this TV contract comes out, the attitudes of the players are going to get worse because they're going to be making more money. It's rumored that they're probably going to end up signing the first billion-dollar player or first billion-dollar contract in sports once they get that new TV deal done. These guys are already looking at some of them max contract, $350 million. Damian Lillard, he got hurt the other night. He's probably going to be out for the whole season next year. He's going to make $60 million, and it's fully guaranteed. You think he's really going to be in a rush to get back if he's getting $60 million for doing nothing? Come on, man. The whole system is I agree with the guys should be getting paid because the money is out there, but, it should be some kind of clause if you're not out there playing, you shouldn't be getting all that money. But that's just the way I feel about it. Travis Hunter, he came to Jacksonville, and they say he's going to be number 12. He's going to take the same number as he took in college with Jackson State and Colorado. Not surprising, but the kid's got a good attitude. He's not talking about coming in and setting the world on fire. He say he's just coming to try to do his job, and he's going to go from there. So he's got the right mindset, and he's not trying to be too brash or overly confident, but I like the way he's talking. But I still think the problem might be the quarterback in Jacksonville. Last year, he got the big contract extension, and what he was trying to do, in my opinion, was trying to earn his contract on every throw. He was overcompensating. He missed a lot. And because he's thinking about it too much, if we just relax and go play, and Trevor Lawrence would be a better quarterback. But I think he got his extension premature, and it was based on a playoff game that they came back and won when they were actually down by 20-something points. So is that something that you really want to trust, somebody that you really want to trust as your franchise quarterback to get you in that position in the first place? But it just goes to show you these teams do what they want to do. And the Shedeur Sanders situation is just another example of that. they're going to do what they want to do, even if it's wrong, because it's the same model as the NBA, the mindset. You know, we might not win the championship this year. I'll win the championship someday, but at the same time that I'm going to make a lot of money. So you can criticize me all you want for making these bad decisions. We're still making billions of dollars. So I might be crying, but I'm going to look at my bank statement and I'm going to start feeling pretty good about myself. So that's why you see these NFL teams doing the things they do. All right, Frankenstein already said that. New players are soft. They're beyond soft. I kind of gave John Morant a hard time the other day. He wanted to fly through the air like Superman. And when he hit the ground, you know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, they had a breakaway against OKC. They were up by like 27 points. The guy had the breakaway. Morant was trailing. If the guy had gone up, he probably would have drawn a foul and gone to the line. But no, they want to be hot dogs and show off. So he goes and throws the behind the back pass to Morant, who goes flying through the air like Superman. The defender, who was going to foul the first guy, turned around and actually made contact with Morant. Caused Morant to hit the floor. When I saw it initially, I thought that he hit his jaw on the floor. I thought he had broke his jaw. But when you look at it from the other angle, he never hit his jaw. What he did do was hit chest first. But the injury that he suffered was a hip contusion. How the hell you get a hip contusion when you land chest first? I couldn't figure that out. And when we started talking about the softness, his team needed him on that floor. If he had not gotten hurt, they would have won that game and extended that series. But OKC roared all the way back because he couldn't play, and the rest is history. They weren't going to be OKC anyway, but he still needed to be on the floor to help his team out. But what got me about that, I'm not saying he wasn't hurt, and I don't know how much pain he was in, but the way he was riding all on the floor and turning all sideways and being dramatic, man, give me a break, man. Get your behind up off the floor and go play some basketball. What he should have did was go to the locker room, got his shot up, and came back out and played the game. You saw that with Jalen Brunson. He turned his ankle in game 3. He went to the locker room for about 10 minutes, and he came back out and helped his team win that game. That's the same thing Morant should have did. But he's not going to do that. Why? Because he's got X amount of money that's coming. He don't give a damn. And it showed. He's on the sideline smiling and laughing. Your team getting beat. But it's a big joke on the sideline. Well, man, give me a break, man. That's why, you know, one of the reasons why basketball can be hard to watch. I was watching last night. What was that? Houston and Golden State. They call it traveling on Steph Curry. I mean, it's a minor thing that he did, and they call it a travel. I don't understand how you can call travel on something like that when I've seen players take a full run, 4 or 5 steps, and the referees, officials looking right at you next to them, and you don't call a thing. How is it that they determine what's a travel and what's not? I mean, if you an older player or older generation like me, you know what a travel really is. You know what it looks like. And then you add this Euro step. They'll travel, then do the Euro step, and the referees won't call nothing. I mean, it's kind of hard to watch, man. And then you get a game where everybody's jacking up a 3-pointer. I seen that guy Buddy Hield last night. They got a 2-on-1 fast break. He's behind the defense. He gets the ball. Nobody else back there. Everybody else spotting up for a 3. All they had to do was take the damn ball to the basket and lay it up. But these guys, they'd rather just spot up and shoot a 3 than laying the ball up. I mean, it's video game stuff, man. I don't know how they expect to win a championship like that, but that's just the way things are right now, and it's going to get worse. All right, Willie Purse said, I'd rather see it go to them than over to other countries. All right, what do you mean? Are you talking about the players get money, or are you talking about the players going overseas to play money? What exactly do you mean, Purse? I think you're trying to say you'd rather see the players getting paid than go overseas to play. Well, with the money that they make now in the NBA, it's not necessary. I don't know what the lowest salary is in the NBA, but I'm sure it's a couple million. And like I said, those contracts are pretty much guaranteed. I don't know if they still do those 10-day contracts or not. Um, I can't imagine them paying a guy over $1 million for a 10-day contract, but in this day and age, anything's possible. I don't know. But in any case, tonight we're going to see how much heart Detroit has. 3-1, and kind of like with the Rockets with Jalen Green, here's this guy that's supposed to be one of the top players, but he's not producing in the playoffs. He did well in the regular season, but now it's time to play for a championship. He tends to disappear. You're making all this money in the pros to be consistent. When you're scoring all these points in the regular season, that's fine. That's for the fans. But when it comes to time to play in the playoffs, you need to be somewhat consistent or close to what you did in the regular season. I look at the way Green, he went on a terrible slump. 5 points here, 3 points that game, 7 points, 9 points. That's not enough. He's not taking enough shots. And he's just not producing enough for the Rockets to be able to win. And how are you going to beat a team like Golden State when your best player is getting less than 10 points? It doesn't add up to me. It's like what I said about Jamal Murray. It was times in the regular season where he'll score 1 point in the first half, or he might get 3 or 4. He's supposed to be the number 2 guy to Jokic. How is he going to take pressure off Jokic if all he can score is 2 or 3 points a half? Now, he'll come on in the second half and score 10 or 11 points and make it look good in the end, but he's not being consistent. It's the same thing with Green. 7 points, 8 points, 9 points, then you score 38, then you go back to 5 points. I mean, the Rockets can't depend on that. You cannot depend on that if you're the Nuggets. And we're going to see tonight if Detroit can depend on a guy like Malik Beasley. The man made over 300 three-pointers during the regular season. But the last couple of games, if he was standing next to the basket and they say, if you could put it in the basket as a three-pointer, we'll give it to you. He can't even do that. He's shooting so bad. And he's going to have to show up tonight if the Pistons are going to have a chance to win. Now, in reality, they should be up 3-1. As bad as some of these guys have been inconsistent, they really outplayed New York. But Brunson got a little bit more heart than what I've seen from Detroit. And I've seen Anthony Towns. He's got heart more than you thought he had. He didn't get the ball a whole lot. And I think what Thibodeau did was make the adjustment to get him more involved. When they did that, and then you can't stop Brunson on the outside, he's scoring 30-plus points. Detroit's not going to be able to keep up with that if they cannot hit from the outside. So now when they go down, they down 3-1, it's going to come down to, can Beasley make some shots? If he don't get no more than 2 3-pointers, then this series is going to be over. But it's also be interesting to see if Detroit is going to go the way of Miami. Are they going to show up now that you're down 3-1? For the sake of the sport, I hope they show up. But I got a feeling, being on the road in New York, they probably don't want to be there, thinking that they got robbed the other day. Whether they did or not is here nor there. They still have to go and play the game. And I got a feeling if the Knicks jump out on them, they're going to fold up the tent, and this series is going to be over with tonight. But at least the night game, just like last night, will give us a better performance than what we saw with Miami yesterday, because you got Denver and the Clippers going at it, and that is a great matchup. And as long as Kawhi is still hot, and if Harden can give him enough support, because you never know what Harden's going to do. He's got a history of choking in the playoffs. If he doesn't choke, if he stays consistent, then this Clippers team is going to be hard to beat. A lot of people have been down on Jokic lately, talking about he's not entertaining to watch. He's not exciting. But some of the most successful people in the world, the richest people in the world, are also the most boring. They are unassuming. I'd rather be rich and unassuming than exciting, wild, and broke. Well, applying that to basketball terms, we're talking about Jokic, and Jokic, he's consistent. He's going to give you a triple-double most of the time. And if you come to double team him, he's going to find an open guy. You leave him 1-on-1, he's going to score. He can take you out to the three-pointer and hurt you there too. I'll take a guy like Jokic all day long, as opposed to some of these other guys that tend not to show up. So it's going to be a great game if all these players show up, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, the Lakers, they play tomorrow night, and they're facing a 3-1 deficit too. I didn't realize when I was watching the game, maybe I dozed off or something, I don't know, but Redick, he's facing criticism because he did not substitute James or Doncic in the entire second half. I think Reeves played the whole entire second half too. Now that's fine if you're Reeves, a young guy. Doncic, you could be in better shape, but I take that too when you have to. And James is the problem. James, a man 40 years old, he can't be doing that too many times and expect to be very effective down the stretch. And I think his exhaustion caused him to make that foul against Edwards in the last couple of seconds. That really hurt him. But I think the rules themselves, I think if you're going to make a challenge call, I don't think you should be allowed to add a call to what's being challenged. They said that Edwards kicked the ball with his knee out of bounds. Fine. When they looked at it, they say not only didn't he do it, he was fouled by James. That sent him to the line, man. And when he hit those two shots, that pretty much put the Lakers in bad shape. Now, it wouldn't have made a difference anyway because they had to take it down the floor. But one thing that would have happened, and the Lakers call a timeout, they lose that timeout, and they don't have a chance to advance the ball to half court. That killed the Lakers. And I think they need to do something about that replay rule because what it does is it slows the game down much more so, in my opinion, than the NFL replays. They need to work on that and fix that. But Redick, he's been criticized for not taking those guys out. And in that situation, with the pace that the Minnesota likes to play, that was a bad decision. They had to at least take some kind of break to keep themselves in the game. But when you don't trust your bench or you don't have a bench, then you are put in that situation. I myself, when I was coaching girls basketball, I had a couple girls, a lineup that I can work with to stay competitive. And as long as we didn't get too far behind, we could stay in the game. But if I had to go onto the bench for foul trouble, I was in trouble. Because as you know, players that are overmatched, it won't take long for the other team to find them. And they will find them real quick. And that happened to me sometimes. But I had to leave those core group of players out there most of the game, if not all the game, to remain competitive. I just couldn't stand to get in foul trouble. And that happened to me as well. But it's a completely different situation from the pros because he does have guys who's supposed to be pro-level players playing in those games. If they can't play when it's time to play, then hell, they don't need to be on the roster. It's like Bill Russell say. He was alluding to the fact that these guys playing now, most of them would not be able to play if you condense the league down to X amount of teams. And it's playing out before you every time we see a playoff game. But I don't suspect Redick to come back tonight and do the same thing. Not tonight, but tomorrow to do the same thing. He's going to have to find a different way to slow Edwards down. And Randall is going to get his points. It's the intangible players. You have to slow guys like Reed down. If they can put a clamp on those sideline players, then the Lakers, they should be all right. I still think they're in too far of a hole to beat Minnesota. But as far as Minnesota thinking they're going to come and close the Lakers out without a fight, completely different from the Miami Heat, man. And it's going to be great. All right, JC says, I heard Lillard might have torn his ACL. Yes, he did. Milwaukee is down 3-1 to Indy. I think even with Lillard, because he had sat out from that deep vein thrombosis a couple weeks, he wasn't back to full speed then. And it's all Giannis. If he gets in foul trouble or he's off, then that game's over with. But the one thing about Indianapolis, and they are going back home, they can't play on the road. They're not a very good road team at all. It's one of those teams that play up and down with the crowd. And even if they are to get by Milwaukee, they're not going much farther than that because if you can't play on the road, then you can't play. And that's what's going to happen to Indiana, I think. All right. So just to recap, I just wanted to come on and say what I talked about this morning. I didn't get the message out because the settings, I hit the wrong settings buttons and went to the kids level instead of me talking about the adults. And I was basically saying that even though Cleveland seemed like they might have knee jerked a little bit by taking Sanders after taking Dylan Gabriel earlier, it's actually a good thing for Cleveland because you get a double competition going on. We get to see Gabriel and Sanders go head up for a roster spot. If this was anybody other than Sanders, that 5th or 6th round draft choice is not going to get a chance to compete. Since the owner made sure that Sanders was drafted, he's going to be ensured of an opportunity to compete. So we get the chance to see who's the better player between Gabriel and Sanders. We also get to see the expertise or skill level of the Browns coach and GM's ability to select the right talent. If Sanders clearly outplays Gabriel, that doesn't make the front office of the Browns look very good at all. And if they start out any kind of negative way and Sanders is playing well, then Barry and Stefanski is going to be fired. If not before the end of the season, that's going to be their last year in Cleveland. And I think it was a great move by the owner to put those people in position to have to show that they are worthy of their positions. And the players have to do it, but rarely would you see an opportunity like this for the expertise of the front office people be put to the test right away. And I think it's great. And because of the special circumstances of this particular draft, you're not going to see this opportunity very much unless you get a guy like Jerry Jones. He's known to bring players in he likes to compete against somebody that everybody else knows is a better player. But the one thing about it is, if you're going to do that and you install Sanders as a quarterback, then there's no real competition there. But I don't think that's going to happen because you have a Joe Flacco there. So I think what's going to happen again with the Browns, Flacco's going to start. And if he falters, they'll go to Pickett. And then the winner of the competition between Gabriel and Sanders will get the 3rd spot. The guy that loses the competition is going to get cut with the hope of being re-signed, the Browns re-signing them to the practice squad. But there's a waiting period there. And whoever doesn't make it, they're going to get picked up by somebody else. So the Browns are going to end up with 4 quarterbacks to deal with. Deshaun Watson, who's out of the picture this year because of injury, and whoever survives those other 3 spots. The 4th guy, they're going to want to put him on the practice squad, but it's not going to happen because as soon as they cut him, somebody else is going to pick him up, and that player is going to be out. But again, Sanders is going to get that opportunity to compete because of the owner bringing him in. So it's going to be interesting to see just how that goes. All right, I got to get up out of here. It's starting to get hot in this spot. I asked the question, did the Browns overplay their hand? Most of you said no. Originally, I thought that they did, but as I thought about it, I realized what the owner probably didn't see when he made this move. He knew that he was going to be putting Gabriel up against Sanders, but he probably didn't think that this will cast a shadow down on his GM and head coach. Are they really the right guys to make the decisions for the Cleveland Browns? And if Sanders outplays Gabriel, shame on them, man, because they're going to be looking for another job. But that's just my opinion. But I'm not usually too far off on these kind of things and been watching this stuff a long time. So I'm going to trust my opinion on that. And I'm going to mark this day. And I'm going to come back and remind you what I said right as the training camp start. And it's going to be something to watch. But meanwhile, we got some playoff action today. The Knicks hosting the Pistons. And then Clippers going into Denver for a pivotal game 5 in the NBA playoff. It's going to be a great one tonight. So anybody that chimed in today, appreciate you stopping by. Like and subscribe. And if you want to catch me, normally I'm on during the weekdays, anytime between 6:30 and 7 in the morning for about 10-15 minutes to give you a quick take before I actually got to go to work. Because I say I'm Coach Hall, I'm actually a coach. So I have to put that work in also. But I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. And I hope to hear or see you more down the line. So until next time, Unless there's breaking news, I'll catch you guys in the morning. This is Sports for Real. I'm out. Check this poll again. Did the Browns overplay their hand? Most people say no. I agree. All right, have a great night.